Hello and welcome to Sacred Akashic Healing Arts channel. My name's Corinne. I'm your co-host. I'm a soul guide, healer, and Akashic graduate and mentee. And today I'm going to be interviewing the absolutely legendary Valentina Mathias, who is an international Akashic elder master healer. She's part of the royal lineage of Akashic guardians, and she's also the founder of Sacred Akashic Healing Arts and the co-host of this channel. So we actually recorded this interview just before we were going on a retreat last year. So you may hear us mention some of that information, but the interview is absolutely fascinating to hear about Valentina's journey with the Akashic records, her journey of incarnating in this life and the mission that she is here to serve and is bringing into the consciousness right now. And you're going to get to learn more about the galactic earth and solar cache that she works with. It's such a fascinating, she's such a fascinating human being soul, and she's bringing so much into the consciousness of the earth. And you know, this, just by watching the video, you're going to be able to connect into this just high vibrational energy that Valentina embodies and brings. She's such a humble soul. She's such a powerful being, but she's so humble. And it's really an honor to be doing this channel with her, and it's an absolute honor to be able to interview her and to call myself now a friend. So anyway, I'm just gonna like dive right in. So we're gonna cut to the interview now, and it may end a little bit abruptly because, as I said, I did actually record this interview, and it was just before we were going on a retreat last year. So and at the time I was doing a special offer, so I've just cut that off the end. But so it may seem like it ends a little abruptly, but it doesn't take away from the absolutely incredible interview that is about to follow. Thank you. Hello, so welcome, Valentina. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule because, as the viewers are going to find out, you are doing a lot of things right now with the Akasha. So I'm really grateful for you taking the time, and this is going to be such an amazing treat for everyone that is watching this. So, you know, besides the one-to-one Akashic soul readings that you do, you're doing training, which is obviously what I'm a part of, and we'll go into that a little bit more as we move on. But also, you know, I've just completed a dream weaving shadow course with you, which has been absolutely amazing. And I even have to ask myself right now, you know, am I dreaming or am I awake? So amazing. So let's
Powerful stuff.
very
Yeah.
powerful stuff, yeah. So before we get into a little bit more about your fascinating story, could you just tell us, you know, what is the Akasha? Because we talk about the Earth and the galactic Akasha. What exactly is it?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here on your channel. I love all my interactions with you in the trainings and the catch-ups and the chats. So it's an absolute delight to be here. I love the energy that you bring out to the world and the way you explain everything to people in easy to understand ways. So the way, so what is the Akasha? So the Akasha is a record of everything about you. It's also a record of everything about Earth and different geographical areas. It's a record of your business as well. But usually what people are looking for to start with is the records that you've left there over lifetimes, that your soul has left in this amazing etheric library, waiting for the day when you have an incarnation where you need to go back there and find out all about yourself, find out what your higher timeline skills are, find out what happened in different lifetimes if you need to, you know, work out some tricky equations in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And the way that I access the Akash and bring it through for you is using the trilogy of Akashas that are really important for our incarnations in this time space reality at the moment. And that is the Galactic Akash, the Earth Akash, and the Soul Akash. So the solar cache you've possibly heard of before, and that's really the essence of who you are. It's the feeling of who you know yourself to be in your heart. And the galactic Akash is your celestial self. It's your energy and your lifetimes and your intelligence that you bring through your journey through the stars and the different planets and the different galaxies that you've been in, and your experiences there, and that you can bring through and access for this lifetime. That's your galactic Akash. And then there's your Earth Akash, which is your energy here. It's all about your lifetimes here on Earth, because this is what we've come for, is this incarnation here on Earth. So accessing your Earth Akash and having the connection of Pacha Mama, of Mama Earth's energy and her Akash, shared with you and your lifetimes here, is hugely important and healing, incredibly healing, and gives us so much understanding about, how we came to be who we are in our earth lifetimes and our earth lineages, whereas our galactic Akash gives us our galactic lineages, and our soul Akash gives us our soul DNA, where our soul energy has come from. So
Amazing. And that's actually one thing when I first came across you, Valentina, and I was like, I've got to have one of these readings. I've been on this journey for a long time, and you know, obviously there's something inside of us that seeks remembering who we are and awakening, and we've got missions, we've got things to do here. And one thing that I was blown away with when I had the reading with you was it's so much more than just you telling me this is what's in your soul. There was so much healing, so much activation, um, so much confirmation as well. So it's yeah,
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 there's a lot
yeah.
that comes through when you have it's so much more
I,
than reading.
yeah, when you bring in the three akashas, there's so much more to it. It's like all the pieces of the puzzle, instead a bit of knowledge that's been passed down to us over generations of how to how to access the akash.
Yeah,
It's going right back to the original architecture of what's required when humans access the akash.
yeah.
So,
And
and it's hugely healing.
healing. I mean, what I
Yeah.
noticed as well, because I've had two readings with you, and obviously I'm training with you now, but the first reading blew me away. And then the second reading was beyond, because it's all because it builds, right? Because you're getting information, and I realize, well, I'm activating and I'm opening up to a new level. And then it opened the door for even more information to come through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because when you open the Akash this way, it harmonizes and upgrades your cellular ability in your body to access more information, and it starts to harmonize your galactic coding in your body, in your light body for you. So each time you go in, it's going to a deeper alignment and more knowledge. But having said that, sometimes you will just be knocked out for healing because because that's what you need.
I, I have it. In
Yeah.
fact, that's taken me back to one of the trainings recently when, when you were asking us for an update, and I was like, I don't know where I went. I was just out of there. So I was just getting a lot of healing at that
Yeah,
time. It's beautiful when that is happening as well. It's such an amazing
it is such an amazing thing. And you really have to honor that you're in your sacred wisdom place. And
yeah,
if your guides have decided that you need to be knocked out for healing and for upgrades,
yeah,
it's definitely time to accept that.
yeah. And just
Yeah.
honor that. Yeah. So
Honor it. Yeah.
fascinating. So let's start. I wanted to start with right now who you know yourself to be. So yeah, let's just start there. Who you know yourself to be in this incarnation.
Okay. So this is who I know myself to be. In this incarnation, I have brought through most of my soul DNA that I've chosen to bring through is literally from the Akash. And my family in the Akash is the Royal Akashic line, and we're the guardians of the Akash. We look after the Akashic Library for a start. We keep it organized. It's like very much like being librarians. We keep it clean for each record for the next person that wants to come and access it. And we also maintain the energy around the Akash, like the auric field around the Akash, the etheric field, so that no negative entities can, punch holes in it and start to come in and take information that isn't really rightfully theirs to access. So
Yeah.
that's what we do. It's a very healing lineage that is, in the past, would primarily just exist in the Akash.
Yeah. So
But we're living in unusual times.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the guardians of this such sacred information.
Yeah.
And when we talk about royal as well, I think like, we think of royal sometimes like the royals in the earth, but that's a distortion of what it really means to be royal in the organic sense of creation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like that.
No.
It's it's holding sacred codes within a royal lineage where the custodianship of them is taken with great care. And it's the same as old royal lineages on earth, where there was the concept of being the guardians and carers of a group of people in an area, and really really looking after them and assisting them. So it's similar to what we might read about old lineages, royal lineages, where there's a huge amount of responsibility that comes with it, and incredible amount of love. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a sacred role of reverence and protection of creation,
Yeah.
stewardship and
Yeah.
guidance. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. So when did you really begin to discover that was you then? When did that start to sort
Ah, wow. Yeah.
of
Not till I was an adult, and I was going regularly into the Akash, and I had a friend that loved the feeling of the Akash just being open, and I wasn't yet confident with everything I was doing. I was confident in me,
yeah,
but it was all a bit weird to other people, I thought. So this friend was great because she just wanted it open, and she wanted to hear anything, and she didn't care what it was, no filter, just want to know everything that's going on in there. So we'd spend like whole days with it open. And one day we were there in my lounge room. She was on a couch, I was on a couch. I think we'd just made a cup of tea and sat back down again, and we're just waiting to see what would happen next. Very relaxed. And an Akashic spirit being walked in to the lounge room. I said to my friend, "Can you see her?" Because I wanted to just be sure. And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Tell me what she looks like." And she said, "Well, I can't see her that clearly, but she's tall and she's got these beautiful flowing sort of bluey green robes, and she's got jewels, like I think they're like emeralds or rubies here and here, and just all over her long hair. She looks like a princess, like like a priestess, but more like more regal, like a princess.
yeah.
I was like, yes, yes, that is exactly what she looks like. And this woman floated over to my friend and gave her some healing. And
Wow.
then she floated across the room and she came to where I was sitting, and she looked at me, and I was just like still in awe. And she said to me, "You don't know who you are, do you?" And it still makes me teary. I was very teary at the time. Every time I retell this, and I said, "I'm an Akashic healer. I help people." And she said, "Yes, but you don't know who you are in the Akash." And I said, well, I'm a healer. And she said, yes, but you don't know who you are. And I said, no, I don't. She said, you're my sister. She said, yes. And we don't normally incarnate. You're from the Royal Akashic line. And you wanted to be here so badly to help at this point in time on Earth's evolution that you had to actually do a lot of studying in the Akash to be allowed to come down to assist because you wanted people to have real access to their wisdom, to connect them up safely and to give them the whole story of the Akashic connection. And you just basically, you wanted to help so badly that you just kept asking until you were allowed to come down. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And what's your name? And she said, I'm Princesa Aliente. And she said, and I can help you. If you can't, for a start, she said, please come and visit us. You never come home to our area of the Akash, which I do regularly now. And she also said, if you're ever having trouble with a client where they can't understand what you're telling them, what the Akash is saying is the answer to their question, ask me to translate in words that they will understand, which she does regularly for me. Or it's not really an issue these days, but that was many years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, soon after that, I had a client who just wanted to know what she was meant to do, like what she was meant to do for a job, for an income, what was aligned for her. And it came through in the Akash that it would be great for her to do Lomi massage, Lomi massage. Sorry.
No.
And whatever I said about Lomi massage, she'd never heard of it, how it was long strokes up the body, moving energy, very healing massage. She just kept saying, I've got no idea what you're talking about. You do what? And so eventually I asked Aliante to come and she said, tell her it's like swimming. I said, it's like swimming. She said, oh, I did squad when I was younger. So it's moving, it's just like moving your hands through the water. You're moving energy, like when you swim. And I said, yes, except you're moving energy up and down the client's body. Just like, oh, okay, now I get it. So that was wonderful. It is wonderful. And yeah, and it was I felt very humble.
Yeah.
It was really lovely to know, where my soul family lives.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously, like you say, I mean, what an amazing story, and it's so precious, and it's like, you're coming in, and you forget as you come into this life, right? You forget who you are, and we all have to come through that veil of forgetfulness, and we have to remember again.
Yeah.
And I know I've always had, inside of me, like, you're told all the time from the outside, this is who you are, this is who you should be, you ought to be, and always knowing, having this feeling something's not right here, I'm missing something. So the moment you start to really find out who you are, it's just, well, like you say, it's emotional. It's a beautiful experience.
Very emotional. Yeah, it's very emotional, and for clients too, once they connect with their soul
Yeah,
essence and their soul family.
yeah,
And we bring in soul DNA, just like our family lineages on earth, from different aspects of our soul journey.
yeah.
But I chose to primarily bring in Akashic DNA this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I remember again when you took me into the Akash, and I went into it where I had family waiting, and it was so emotional, and that celebration of, you followed your
Yeah.
guidance, and you it's almost like these points are like destined points, node points that you choose, or
Mm.
either choose to accept those paths and take those steps, I guess, through your heart. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. And the reward when you get there is amazing. And it's just walking blindly with intuition to start with, not the Akash, but the things that lead you there. Yeah.
Completely, completely. Um, so with that in mind, I'd like to actually just bookend that and go right back to the beginning because obviously, it was a journey to get to that point where you were asking those questions and starting to discover who you are.
Yes.
Fascinating to hear, it was so amazing to hear, you came in with a splash, Valentina. So do you want to just tell us the story of you coming into it?
Yes, I would love to. So, wow, where to start? Okay, so uh, when my mum was pregnant with me, my parents, this is a large Catholic family in New Zealand, uh, and they already had 5 kids. So I was number 6, and my mum was in her 40s. And during childbirth, she actually died, and she hemorrhaged and died, and they pumped her heart and brought her back to life. And but when she died, I remember I've gone back spontaneously in healings and remembered following her down the tunnel of light, down her tunnel, and I saw her speaking to her guides. It makes me emotional too. And I saw her saying, I don't want to go back. I can't do it. And they were saying to her, well, you have freedom of choice. It's not your time, but to finish your life, but you have choice. You don't have to go back if you don't want to. But that soul has followed you down the tunnel, which was me.
Yeah.
And they said to her, if you don't go back, she won't go back. And so she came back. Yeah, it was amazing. And she was very sick. She had a hysterectomy. She was in hospital for a long time. She was very depressed. And I spoke to her about it when I was a teenager. It was a family secret until I demanded to know what happened to me because I knew something had happened. And one of my brothers said, maybe it's the orphanage. I'm like, what? And he said, Mum, you have to tell her. And he said, I'm sorry. He said to me, we were sworn to secrecy. And so then she was open, once she had decided it had to come out. And she said she was floating above her body and she could see her body and she could see the baby, but she was just depressed. I just don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And from her memory, they pumped her heart and brought her back. And she's just, what did you do that for?
Yeah.
But so they looked after her and as best they could. 1964, so I'm not sure how much mental and emotional care she received, but they looked after her. And the surgeon, it was a Catholic hospital, and the surgeon said to my father, we don't know what's going to happen with Anne. Why don't we put the baby in with the nuns who look after the unmarried Catholic girls that are pregnant, because they know how to look after babies.
Yeah.
And we'll just wait and see what happens. So that was my, landing. And I went to a convent that was full of women and looked after I'm not sure how well they looked after the unmarried young Catholic girls. They definitely cherished the babies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my start in life.
That story in itself just shows so many potent things about the human journey, right? And the soul and the human journey. The fact that one, you're showing there is a destined plan. We do have a destined plan when we come in, but we also have free will. So it's, sometimes people ask, well, we've got this destiny, how have we got free will? But it's because we have the choice to choose our destiny. We don't have to
Yeah.
choose, right? So it kind of shows with your mom there that
Yeah.
it's a hard school, and she could have chosen to leave, but thankfully she chose a destiny and
Yeah.
you would
Just,
have found
yeah.
it. You'd have got in anyway, Valentina, another way, but I'm so grateful that your mum was to
Yes,
stay.
me too. And she stayed till she was in her 90s. You know, she really stayed
It's
and
amazing.
and loved us. Yeah.
Yeah, so grateful to your mum for soldiering on and coming back and you coming back in and then
Yeah.
and it also shows Valentina that I talk often to my clients about this, that our childhood really shapes things within us. And often at the beginning of our lives, when we go through trauma, we don't even consciously remember it because in order to cope, we have to bury those traumas in a way just to be able to cope. So then we have to go through a healing journey and start to heal those. So it just shows how, you didn't even know that you knew something deep down, you knew something inside,
Mm,
and that led you to ask your mum and search out that. But so with
yeah.
that in mind, the fact that we know we've got a destiny and we choose it, I mean, why people, I say this to my
Mm,
clients often, we choose everything that we go through, and there's higher reasons for those choices. It's not often the reason that people think it is. There's higher reasons for it, beautiful reasons for it, really. So why did you choose something so traumatic to
mm.
come
Yeah.
into?
Yeah. It's a good one. And this is like the whole thing of where we choose stuff when we're up there and we
Yeah,
don't realize how traumatic it's going to be.
yeah,
So I chose that so that I could keep a foot in both worlds and not forget where I was from. Because I was in a convent that was full of women, mothers, babies, full of feminine energy, prayers, singing, natural food. They had their own garden. And um, like there was trauma, of course, which I've worked through, and not bonding to one person like you would with your mother. Um, I was able to not land completely in my body. So I was able to keep a foot in both worlds, retain a foot in the Akash and a foot on earth. I was kept the dual consciousness of both alive in my body because I didn't have the same process that most people have of coming in and landing. And then there's that forgetfulness, that veil of forgetfulness comes in fairly quickly. So I designed it like that so that I would have from the get go, I would be in both worlds. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
that's
Beautiful.
why.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's empowering to start understanding why we choose things as well, which obviously we can start to learn as we access information from our Akashic records.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's all there for you
Yeah.
to gradually go and navigate and
Yeah.
retrieve information. Yeah.
I always held within myself that from a very young age that I also planned my own life. I just knew I was responsible for it, but I didn't know how to articulate that. And it certainly wasn't taught to me or reflected back to me. And it
Mm.
was when it was a certain book that I read in my early 20s about past lives that started to confirm that to me when I thought, and that empowered me. It empowered me because I used to hold that in my mind and think, okay, any challenge that I'm facing, I've planned this. So if I planned it, it means I can get through it. So it really empowered
Yeah.
me. And then when I had obviously the Akashic record with you, the second reading, Valentina, and at one point, you were viewing me with these crystal towels, and it was like, oh, you're planning this life, and it just clicked in. I
So
thought, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
And I thought, and I
Yeah.
know I've planned this second half of my life to be epic. So I'm excited. Yeah, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's so empowering. It's so empowering to start.
Mm.
We've got this story from birth that we told, and then as we start to really discover the truth and we see the higher story, it just so much light
Yeah.
comes, so much healing and transformation takes place as
Yeah.
part of that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So thank you for sharing that. So when did you actually become aware of the Akasha? So obviously you said you're coming in and you've got one foot in, one foot out. So I know you talk a lot about being in the being in these libraries, how, but you weren't exactly aware of what that was. So if you could just tell us a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. So I was going into the library in the sky every night as a child. And um, and I was sitting in a circle with what I just called the tall men in robes with the long beards. Um, and we would pull out all these scrolls and look at them. And it was so interesting and intriguing. It was all about my family, the people I knew, the geography of the area I lived, a lot about World War II, a lot about the earth, and just a lot of mathematical equations. And I understood it all as a child. It was like the best place in the world. And I couldn't wait to share it. And every morning I'd think, I'm gonna manage it this time, and I'd be so close, and then I'd lose it just as I'd wake up. So anyway, so that was happening all through my childhood, and then I went when I was younger. I think I was about 30, or maybe I can't remember, late 20s, early 30s. I'm just trying to remember the age. I'll just say, so then in my early adulthood, I I'd started studying sand play therapy. So I went to a live-in, retreat at a certain level with other people. And on the first night there, of course, I was in the Akash all night, and there was so many equations and blueprints for everyone there. And I woke up in the morning and it was jumbled. So I went to make myself a cup of tea early before anyone else got up. And I was making myself a tea, and another beautiful lady who I can't remember her name. I wish I could. She's just so lovely. To me, she was older, probably mid-30s, which to me now, young. Anyway, I just thought she was just so wonderful, and she was so compassionate. And she said, "Oh my goodness, you look exhausted. Issues must have been coming up for you in your sleep. Let's go and do a sand play together before anyone else gets up, and we'll work through it together." And because I was exhausted, my mouth wasn't zipped like I'd learned to zip it my whole life, because no one else understood my jumbled trying to explain what I was doing. And but it wasn't zipped because I was exhausted. And I said, "Oh, I wish there were issues coming up. I've been in the library in the sky all night. I've got information for everyone, and it's all jumbled now. I'm exhausted." And she just very kindly said, "Oh, well, let's talk about that then. Shall we both make tea, and we'll both go and sit on the veranda, and you tell me all about that." And so it just all came out. It was like the dam broke. Just blah, 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 blah. And it's been happening all my life. Tears. I'm exhausted. And eventually I stopped to breathe. And she said, those magic words along the line of, "You don't know who you are," but her words were, "You don't know where you're going at night time, do you?" So I went, "No." And she said, the Akashic, that is called the Akashic Records. It's very well documented. You can find books on it. It's in all the major teachings. All the major religions talk about the Akash. They call it different things, but it's the Akash.
Yeah.
Book of the Dead, the Akash, the this, the that. I can't remember them offhand. And I was like, "Oh." She said, "Yes, you can find information. That is where you're going." It's like, oh. And then she said, "You could be a guru." I was like, "Oh." People want this information. This is your big skill in life. This is what you have incarnated to do. This is really, really important.
Yeah.
And people want this. People will follow you. You could be a guru. And I was like, "Oh, well, it's great to know, but I definitely don't want that." At that time, this is going back 30, 35 years, there were a lot of spiritual egos in the spiritual community. So I really didn't want to go down the leadership path, or have people follow me, or be that weirdo. I've come from a Catholic family. I'm already, dancing with the devil by reading tarot cards, let
Wow.
alone saying that I can access people's soul wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to art school instead.
Hey.
I just thought, nice to know. I think I'll go to art school and smoke dope. Thanks.
Of course. I love when you told me this part of your story. I thought, yes, we are these wise ancient, we are these wise beings, and but we're still coming into a human experience, right? So we're still subjected to the
Yeah.
human programming,
Yeah,
and
we still want to fit in, to the human environment that we're in, even though clearly we don't. But
exactly. And it creates these doubts inside of yourself, innit? So even though this, you're going into this magical place and this woman's telling you this, you're like, it's a lot of pressure.
it's a lot. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and actually, I often say to my clients as well, and when I'm talking on my YouTube channel, that people want all of the information at once, right? They want, why can't I just? But I say, if you knew everything at once, you'd be overwhelmed and you wouldn't take it
Totally.
forward. So it's why
Yeah,
we design our lives to unfold as we have to take the steps. We have to have the faith. We've got to make those steps. We've got to show spirit, show our soul self that we're willing to take those steps. And if we do, it'll give us a bit more, and it'll give us a bit more, and it'll continue
yeah,
a bit more.
yeah, yeah.
I love that, Valentina. I love seeing that. Sorry, do you want
I need to pause for a second because the cat's probably not going to stop crying till I let
to,
him in.
yes. I love that. I love that story because it shows it. Like we started the interview saying, who you know yourself to be. You know that is you now, and you're claiming that, and you're embodying that. But
Yeah,
it's a journey to get to that point, because doubts, fears
it
come up with programmed to believe we are absolutely the opposite of who we actually are. So it takes
yeah,
courage to
yeah,
claim that and especially for you, Valentina. Like, I think about myself now, opening up to my spirituality, starting to claim who I am, unapologetically be myself now, and allow myself to be that. But it's a different climate that we find ourselves in now. I mean, it's still not fully open, but it's opening up so much more. People are awakening. But for you back then, it was pretty close.
yeah. Unless you wanted to be, super, one of the super weirdos. So,
Right?
and also the energy on Earth was different. Like literally the energetic resonance of Earth was different. So for me, being who I was and so hypersensitive was really like walking on knives, trying to navigate Earth's energy. But that's changed too. So
Yeah.
it's actually a lot easier for me to energetically, like the vibrational resonance of who I am.
Yes.
It's easier for me to be that now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think viewers will be able to see that in their own lives as well, just like I can, like, particularly probably, I don't know, since for me personally, since 2020, that energy's accelerated, but I know that energy's been coming in,
Yeah.
the frequency's been changing on Earth from since before then, but it's certainly getting more powerful, like you say. So it makes it easy for us to start discovering who
Yes.
and being our true selves as well. Um,
Yeah.
I love that. So obviously you're kind of saying then, you didn't instantly fully embrace it per se. I mean, and you went to art school. So what then led you back to, thinking, I'm going to start
Right.
embracing now. This is who I am.
So yeah. So I was still having the dreams, of course, of going into the Akash. And I would tell people things like, oh, I had this dream about you, or, just keep it pretty light. And then one day, this was in the early days of the internet, so I could go online and order a book. So I found a book called, Linda Howe's How to Read the Akashic Records. And I ordered it and I felt so guilty. I thought, this is not really me. It's just a story, really. This whole other part of my life, like it couldn't possibly like really be true. So, and that arrived, and then I was able to just use her process that I used at that time. I used her process, pathway prayer, and meditation, and go in, come out. It was like, oh my God, this is so easy.
Mm.
Like, it's done in the daytime. There's an opening and a closing. It's within a parameter of energy.
Yeah.
Um, and it just changed everything. And I realized that, it was very doable for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was another moment too where, so I started reading records for people using her method. And yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
I mean, it's beautiful. And obviously, since that moment, you've obviously done thousands of, I'm sure, thousands of
yeah,
one-to-one.
for reading. Yeah.
Um, and that's developed into training as well. Obviously, I'm part of that training.
Yeah.
So before we get into that
Yeah.
a little bit, obviously you've seen so many clients. So what's the most popular question? What do people always want to know in the Akash?
Well, it's phrased slightly differently these days. People always want to know, what is my mission? But when I started reading the Akash, the question, which is basically the same question, was what is my life purpose? What's my job?
Yes.
And so that's always the first question people want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that, because I remember you telling me a story, you used to have a client that would come quite often, and he actually passed that back
Peter.
to you, didn't he? Yeah.
I
And
did. So afterwards, we were having a cup of tea, and which is just settling the client after the session before they leave, and he was chatting away, and he said, "Oh, so what's something everyone always asks?" And I said, "Oh, what is my life purpose?" He said, "Yeah, that was my first question back when I started with you." I said, "Yep." He said, "So what's your life purpose?" I was like, to give people Akashic sessions, to just do what I'm doing, to heal and read in the Akash." And off he went. And then as soon as he's gone, I was like, oh, I can't believe I never asked that for myself.
yeah.
So I went into the Akash and asked, what's my life purpose? What's my job? Uh, and I got an answer that I had never even considered, but makes complete sense now that you know me at this end of my life. And they said, your job is to take the keys of the Akash back from the whale kingdom and return them to humanity. Um, and and I was like, oh, why didn't I not know? I said, you didn't ask. So that's a good thing to know too. You have to ask in the Akash and ask in a range of ways to,
Yeah.
it works on the spoken word. Anyway, so I was like, okay, now I know. Can't wait. But I was waiting to feel the inspiration to go and swim with the whales, to go on a whale tour,
Yeah.
something. Nothing was sort of grabbing me. And in the meantime, I live at the beach, and I was walking on the beach every day, and it's where the whales go,
Yeah.
so go past. So it's whale season. I'm connecting to the whales when they're going past, not thinking anything more of it. And then and also I had another client who has sessions. He's been with me for like 25 years, 22 years, anyway, long time.
Yeah.
And his sessions are always for, what Earth needs. And then if we have time, these are my questions. He's very much concerned about, what's in the best interests of humanity and of Earth. So, for his session back in those days, I would telephone him, chat, hang up, distance client, and then do the session and type it as I go. And so there I am doing his session, typing it, and it gets to the stage where at that stage, using Linda Howe's method, we'd gone out to the Akash, which was a field of energy outside of Earth, an etheric field of energy, and we're out there. And then I'm back in the blue aura of Earth, which you see, as a thin blue gas around Earth, but I see it as an auric field. And there's all these healers from all over the world with their arms out, all palms connected, all connecting with each other around the earth from all the countries, like everywhere on earth. And so I'm just typing that this is happening, and I'm just waiting to see what happens next. And then all of a sudden the Akash lands, and it's literally like with all this wind coming out from underneath, like, and I was like, oh, typing that. Akash has just landed. And as soon as it landed and started to go down to the center of the earth, to Gaia, to Earth's Hara,
Yeah.
all these beings from the 14th dimension flew in to assist. And they're kind of like Pegasus, but they're not. They're winged white horses from the 14th dimension. And I've communicated with them a lot since then. They're called hydrons. That's what they said they're called. And they're huge, and they just flew everywhere on Earth, harmonizing all the energy so that the Akash could land without destabilizing Earth. And all the healers from around the world were still holding the energy in the auric field. And so that whole healing was just the Akash landing back to Earth's Hara, back to her core. And then the healings, week by week after that, were a lot of working with Earth. And you know, the soul called Gaia is incarnated as Earth, and working through her emotions too, her anger and grief, that we thought that having the Akashic wisdom out there was okay, disconnected from her Hara. And also there was a lot of communication between her and the sun. So Mother Earth and Father Sun connecting with each other, and with the wisdom, the Akashic wisdom, being earthed back into the center. So that was incredible. And then, of course, after that, my guides, in the Akash, and my family in the Akash gave me a new way to read the Akash. Yeah. That takes into account that I've reattached the Akash to the center of the earth, which was what turns out was the process of taking the keys back for humanity. So then I was walking on the beach and asking the whales, thanking them and asking them what they would like, what do they need from me? And they said, we don't want anything. We're just so happy to not have that yoke on us anymore, because it wasn't ours to carry. Our job is navigational. The work we do with our sonar and navigating energy around the earth is what we do. But there was a big upswing with the protection of whales. So I felt like being released from that gave them their sovereignty and their freedom back. It was at a time, I can't remember, maybe 15 or so years ago, where a lot of protections came in for whales, up in the Nordic regions and around Japan as well. There was a lot of success with declaring areas safe zones, and I felt like that was their reward, that they got their sovereignty back for a while. I mean, a little bit. Still needs work, but yeah.
Definitely. What an amazing achievement. And when you told me that story as well in our first training, I was like, because when you do Akashic records reading, Valentina, obviously you're channeling, and you're not gonna you're doing many people. You don't remember everything that comes through, because you're and I know when I do videos sometimes I don't even remember what I've said, and sometimes I'll watch it like, oh, interesting, because
it's interesting. Great when clients, book in another one and they tell me what happened in the last one. Wow.
When you started talking about those white-winged beings, so then I said, Valentina, I have to, my first reading with you were like, you're from the 14th dimension, and I knew I was an old soul. I had this feeling
Yeah.
inside me. You're from the 14th dimension, so pre-earth, pre-creational earth, and it was like, and you're presenting as, and actually there was a divine masculine there, and it was this, and you were saying like called Hydra. Obviously, that is not the earth name. And you were like, and you're both presenting as these white-winged horses, and you made a point of saying these are not Pegasuses, these are white-winged horses. And when we were talking about mission and purpose, and you were like, and you come in and you harmonize. So I was like, oh my God, Valentina, that was us. It was so exciting.
No wonder we ended up connecting in the 3D.
Exactly. And again, it shows
Yeah.
that the more we
We
follow
were
our
working together back then.
we were
Yeah.
working together back then, and it was
Yeah.
destined that we would meet again, and I would become your student, and because I followed those inner callings, so it was just amazing. And yeah, to hear that story and see those links, and obviously amazing what transpired. The fact that you brought those records back to earth means that I can do this training, means that we can then help more souls.
Well, it's wasn't just a big healing for Earth and to give the keys back to humanity, but it's safe. When I was doing the other method, I'd often take people out there with me until my guides pulled me up and they said, "You have to stop doing that because not everyone walks between worlds, and maybe one day someone won't be able to come back, and they'll be stuck. They're not like you. They can't just, you know,
Yeah.
come and go." So, but now you literally, it's just so safe now.
Well, I love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so important. Like, yeah, you've created that safe, sacred space to do this work and access those records.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
beautiful healing about the earth, because we think about our bodies, but the earth is a body as well, and the earth also feels our pain, feels the pain, feels the disconnection from her own
Yeah.
soul. Like we've been disconnected from our soul, so it's that
Yeah.
bringing that connection back, and that so it's so beautiful to see, the healing that you've helped earth go through. And I say to my clients, every body that heals helps the earth to heal as well, because we're just totally connected.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so,
Very wise, Karen.
thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, but that is absolutely beautiful. um so um so just on that then, sorry, just checking my notes there. You obviously was doing the one-to-ones, and obviously very successfully, and speaks volumes the fact that you've got clients that just continue to come back, and some of your clients like myself become students, and actually come to work with you. And you told about how it started off with one-to-one readings, but then at some point your guides came in and they were like, right, it's time to start training people now. So do you want to just tell
Yeah.
us? It's very interesting.
So exactly that. They said, okay, we want you to start, connecting people up with their own wisdom, not just doing it as readings. It's time to do what you've come to do. And they gave me the full system of healing, which brings in the galactic, the earth, and the solar cache, and more details, like a whole process and how to teach it. And they they said, so this is what you need to do. And so I put out there that I was ready to teach, and would encourage people to book in with me, but people didn't want to learn. They just wanted me to do it. And they'd say, oh, and I'd say, look, I'm not meant to do this anymore. I'm meant to teach now. Oh, just please, 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 please. So I said, oh, okay. And then the Akash said, if you keep doing that, we're going to take your channel away from you. And they did. So there were 3 readings in a row where I couldn't get any information. So then I had to teach, and that was it. There was no more one-on-ones for quite some time. And so that was great. So that kick-started that business. So people
Yeah.
booked in, and, off it went. And then, of course, one day someone said, are you allowed to do healings yet? I was like, no. Could you double check that, please, in the Akash? And so I was given permission, as long as I didn't, as long as I kept it balanced. So
Yeah.
I gradually reintroduced doing healings as well. And now it's actually, a part of my training that you have to have done a session with me or with one of my graduates, like with you, before training, because it's very unusual. You have to know what you're getting, what you're signing up for, basically.
Yeah.
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 So,
I just love how that story shows how, our higher selves, our guides, can do that for us if we are not heeding that advice, and we can be quite resistant as humans sometimes, can't we? And obviously it was from a space
that's
of,
an
yeah, that's an understatement. You're right. I'm trying to be really here. Yes. Yeah, there's other words I could use there. I just love how they just was like, right, you're not listening. Boom, we're just going to switch it off.
Yeah.
And then you have,
Yeah.
and often, our souls are doing that because they love us, because they're trying to get us back on track to our higher timeline. So it's from love.
Totally from love. Yeah.
Yes, maybe it's a bit of tough love, but sometimes we need that tough love,
Yeah.
don't we?
And it's kind of help in a way, because I didn't have the strength really to say no to people.
Yeah.
So that gave me the strength to say no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because you're like, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, I love it. And thankfully, because then you're creating this force, this I was gonna say army, but army of light workers, that light, that can go out and
Yeah.
put out to, even because there's only so much you can do as one person, right? There's only
There's
so many
only so
hours
much.
in a day.
Yeah.
And obviously this
Yeah.
work, Valentina, these sessions are like 3 hours long. So the sessions itself are quite intense. It's a lot, working in these energy realms. It does take energy, but you've also got to do work to prepare yourself for being in that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
channel to deliver those messages, right?
Yeah. 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 It's not just switched on like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sacred space, and it needs to be entered with reverence and preparation, like going into a sacred temple. And, you know, as the practitioner, that's what we do,
Yeah.
to prepare for our clients, to turn up with, our own healing done beforehand, so that we're ready to
Yeah.
hold that space and to facilitate it very clearly and very correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In order for you to be the channel you are, you've had to do a lot of work, a lot of inner work. You've had to go on a deep.
Yeah, really have to be walking the talk. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So, so when I started doing my training with you, or actually before the training, actually, when I booked a reading with you, you send an amazing meditation to start doing, to start healing the body, connecting us a bit. It's like a chakra healing, but you don't call the chakra. This was the first time I've ever heard this. You don't call the chakras. You call them shakaras.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard that word before. So I'd really love you just to let the audience know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I was doing a session for my Queensland client, the same one that I was working with when I landed the Akash rod. And I created a whole grid for his Shakara body with all these crystals. And that's what the healing that was required for him in the Akash. And his guides had asked me to call them Shakaras. And when the healing finished, I was up at Source Akash, an area of the Akash, just clearing my energy. Well, quite a wonderful area of the Akash, source energy. And a couple of my Akashic guides came through and said, you're to continue saying Shakara. This is not just for this client. This is the original correct pronunciation, because words have vibration, and Shakara is open and expansive. And that's the correct original creation energy of this word. And and I've since learned and teach in the level 2, which you're learning at the moment, that it's actually light language, and there are specific codes that come in with each Sha, Ka, Ra. They to do with the combination of the earth, the soul, and the galactic Akash. So it's amazing. I always trust what I'm told in the Akash and honor that in my 3D world. And I don't always know the deeper meaning. But I just, at first, all I knew that it was open and expansive. That's why I said it. But there's so much more. There's always so much more to everything that you're taught in the Akash. When you're ready, they'll give you the next layer of information.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love
So
that.
Shakaras. And it
Yeah.
sounds beautiful. I
It,
just love it.
it sounds
Shakaras.
it sounds
Yeah.
so beautiful, Shakara's, and like I said, nobody is saying that, and it just shows how, well, I think we talked about this off camera, how, there's obviously a lot of what we've been taught, a lot of the information we've been given as humans has been inverted, has been there to keep us down, stop us from connecting to who we really are, because who we really are
Yeah.
is so much more.
Yeah. It has a grain of the original energy, but not all the information. A lot of stuff out there, or inverted, or weird coding put in it. So people feel like they're getting an amazing spiritual learning or practice, but you can tell, when you're not getting all of the correct information, because you don't feel that your life is freed up. You still feel trapped in some way.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I love that. And obviously, there's going to be so much, it just shows how, well, just all this original organic, it's all this original coding that you're bringing through. And that's what when I came to you, I started to wake up to part of my mission being to help bring back those organic codes
yeah.
and remembering.
Exciting. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to explain to people, but when you come into connection with your own original organic creation coding and other people that are bringing that through and connect, it's not like anything else you've ever experienced. It's it's a complete different level of feeling like the equations of your body and your life fit and work and feel really good. Yeah.
Beautiful. I nearly introduced you saying like Valentina Mathias. I was like, it's a perfect last name, right? Because you are so good at equations, Mathias. So I always say things are always there right in front of us. We've always
Yeah.
left clues about who we are. um, so we're going to wrap up shortly. Or is anything else that obviously we've covered quite a lot, but if there's anything else you want to share about the Akash, feel free.
Um, Let me see if anything's coming through. Oh, yeah. There's a really interesting thing that always comes through in the Akash, which is a good thing to know in your life out there, in your everyday life too, about yourself and people, is that when I'm reading for people, when we're coming into the highest potential alignment of a person's soul and their incarnation, the vibrational energy of kindness comes into the healing. And I'm a color person, like I feel emotions in color, I see color everywhere as well. So I see this beautiful green that comes in as well, and the vibrational resonance of kindness. And it's when I know that we're getting to the real, true, highest potential alignment for the client. And and that in life too, that when people are really kind people, they're really aligned with who they are as a soul, with their soul essence. And it doesn't mean that they're doing anything woo-woo and spiritual and soulful, so to speak. They might not be at all. Like, not everyone's coming in with that equation. In fact, they may not need all of that. Often it's those of us that need to learn stuff that are coming in with the equation to learn it or to teach it. So people like that, no matter what they're doing in their 3D world, or even if they think spiritual stuff is silly, they are really, really strongly aligned with their soul essence and their highest, their highest purpose in life. So just don't judge them on what you think would be a high soul purpose. If they're kind, they're living in their soul truth. I
Like,
think that's a really wonderful thing to know.
I think that is beautiful, and I really, really resonate with that. And like that is so beautiful. And often again when I'm speaking to my clients, I will say like we've all got a purpose, we've all got a mission, but it's not as necessarily getting out there. It doesn't have to be something grand and big. It's just about being that love in your life and being that ripple and that
Yes,
and
so
and
true.
I remember
Yeah.
coming into your first reading, I'm like, what are my gifts? I want to know more about my gifts and my talents, and how can I develop them more? And you were plugging in, and you're like, your higher self is saying it's your kindness, it's your compassion, and you're like,
Ah,
I think she wants other things. But I was like, yeah, it is that. It's and it's really sunken even deeper for me after that. It is my kindness, it is my compassion, and I realized that with a lot of my clients when I first changed what I did from, I worked in finance, Valentina, for the first 22 years of my life, and I completely shifted into soul therapy. And quite early on, I was getting quite intense clients, and and really what did I bring was so much kindness, so much compassion, so much non-judgment as well. And people would tell me things that they've not ever said, and it was met with love, kindness, and compassion. And I saw how that dissolved so much how that healed
yeah.
so much more than I could, so much in such a short space of time. So imagine
Perfect.
that we're all just kind to each other, that we all just have compassion, kindness, and non-judgment, how quickly the world is
Yeah.
going to change.
Yeah. 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 That would be lovely. And
Thank
it
you.
can be a relief for people too, if the Akash says, what you're doing is what you've come to do. And they're like, oh, phew. So I don't have to go on this big journey to find myself.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, love that.
You're already on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. What a beautiful, that's so lovely. Thank you for bringing that through. So I guess just maybe just talk about, what's next a little bit, obviously. And how can people get in touch with you, Valentina, as well? And what kind of things is on the agenda for you right now?
Okay. So my website is balancebeginswithme.com. So it's very easy to remember, Balance Begins With Me. And it's at the time of recording this, I'm
Yeah.
booked out for the next few months, but I will be, loading more things up when I'm ready to, and creating an online community so that, the graduates can have regular connection, and people that just want to come in and have a soul healing spa or a beautiful experience can come in and do that. So that's in the works. And my life at the moment, I'll tell you, this is what my life has become now as an adult Akashic reader. I turned 60 this year, and I would say I'm living the dream. So, and this is what it looks like. Most of this year, I've been living in Bali, working remotely, and doing my own healing there with a past life aspect of myself, who's a spirit being in the past in Bali, and just building a different foundation for my business. I needed time to work on some stuff and enjoy being there. Bali called me, so I went. I tend to go where I'm called on Earth. It's always somewhere lovely, but I'm here to assist Earth and humans, so I go where I'm needed. And then the travel coming up in this half of the year, or this end of the year. So we're in October as we're recording this. And then on the 20th of this month, I go back to Bali for a few days to reconnect and spend some time at this beautiful black sand volcanic beach, snorkeling with turtles and other sea creatures, because I'm very connected to the ocean. A lot of my energy is oceanic. And then I'm going to the Caribbean, to a beautiful healing island there called Curacao. where we have an Akashic community run by my friend and teaching graduate Katie Tiana. And on the way through, I'll stop in Amsterdam and catch up with some of my graduates who live in the Netherlands. And then Curacao, where Katie and I will be teaching level 2, Akashic Records, which is learning how to be a practitioner and just immersing in the deeper meanings of all the teachings. And I have some mentees, so a couple of my mentees will be there. So I'll be spending time with them and connecting with other mentees and students, from there. I like to give the people I'm working with energy from the different parts of the planet I go to. And as I'm leading up to going there, even before that, to backtrack slightly, I'm doing the preparation level 1 training for the Costa Rica trip that Corinne is coming to, and the level 2 preparation training with Corinne and a group of other people. And I also have a private client online that's learning the Akash in Utah. So, and then that's my travel start, teaching in Curacao and meeting some mentees and meeting with some of my friends there in the Akashic community and connecting with the land. Very, very important. The Akashic guides, going to the sacred areas. Then Katie Tiana and I fly across to Costa Rica, and we'll tell people more about that soon too, where I'm the guest teacher at this amazing retreat, being run by Judy Queben from Living in Om, who's another incredible being on this planet, living her purpose and, doing great things. We'll swing back around to that. So we'll be there for 10 days. Then I go back to Curacao with Katie, and we've got some more students flying in and some locals from the island, do the level 1 training, do some catch-ups with the Akashic community that Katie and I have set up there. I've visited there before and done online trainings as well. And then, it gets better. So that's all the Akashic service, really. That's all my work. If you can call it work, it's pretty good work. But then I'm going with a group of people across to Colombia, and we're going to go up the what are those mountains called? Sierra Nevada mountains, up the Sierra Nevada mountains in Colombia to connect with these tribal groups who, the elders, the healers from them, who have, they retreated from society about 500 years ago at the time of the Spanish invasion, to back up high up in the mountains. And they've been coming out for a while, like there's YouTubes on them, videos on them. The BBC did a documentary of the Kogi. So the 4 groups are called the Kogi, the Arawako, the Wiwa, and the Guantanamo. So then, a group of us will be up there being with these amazing elders, and their teachings dovetail incredibly with the Akashic teachings, as my family teach me to teach them too. Yeah. So it's just like a dream come true. I've been on Zooms with them before. They come down the mountain. People are trying to get the teachings out and the healing out, and hop on a Zoom with a few healers around the world that facilitate them. So now I'm actually getting to go up there and just be in their presence. So that's it. That's my amazing next few months. Absolutely. It's just really the dream life, and I will be someone completely different at the end of it, I feel, or maybe just more me. I don't know. Yeah.
Obviously we're doing the level, so like you mentioned, we're going to Costa Rica, so this is why I'll be putting an offer on after we finish this interview.
Yeah, so excited.
Sessions that I'm going to open up in December, because I'll be trained then. So up to Costa Rica, we're also doing our level 2 training. We're going to be doing more training in Costa Rica, but I was just catching up on a training the other day, Valentina, and I could see this shift in you. Like I even though you are just
Yeah.
amazing. I could even see even more of you. So like you said, you're just continually embodying even more of
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah, it's the embodiment. Yeah. And, preparing for Costa Rica under Judy's guidance, we've all been doing detoxes, and that's been incredible for coming more into my body. And the elders in Colombia are ascending myself and the other people who are going healing. They've been doing that for a few weeks now until we arrive there.
Yeah.
So the upgrades this year are incredible. And yeah,
Now,
yeah, I've seen you blossom even more, if that's possible, too.
now is the time, right? I say this to everyone, like now is the time to do your healing. Now is the time to focus
Yeah,
discovering of the self, because the energies are so supporting us to do this work on an
they
accelerator.
totally are. Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't matter where you're at, it gets better.
Yes.
It might contract, there's contraction and expansion. So you might have to do your work, your personal growth, but
Yeah.
then it will expand. And then you might have to do some more, then it will expand again. It's just because the next layer is coming up. And it doesn't change. It's the same for all of us. That's just life.
Right. And
Yeah.
actually that reminds me of part of my Akasha when, I felt I was moving on. I knew I was moving on to a new timeline, and you confirmed that, and you're like, this is a timeline shift. And you was like, it's a bit rocky as your energy's coming in. Like it's a little rocky. And then you was like, it's settling. I thought, yeah, I've been experiencing that in the physical, that rockiness of that new energy coming in while
Yeah.
it's and you acclimatize. So you're right, you kind of expand, but then sometimes you contract it a little bit and then that expansion is just a part of the
Yeah.
journey. And once we
It's
understand,
part of it.
once you
Yeah.
understand it, you don't have to go into anxiety or stress about it. You can just
Once you
embrace.
understand that's how energy works, yeah, then
Yeah,
you're like, you're not fighting it so much.
yeah,
And so what intrigues you? I mean, you'll be qualified by the time you
uh,
return, which is so
yeah.
exciting. And but what intrigues you about the whole retreat? It's be so beautiful to be there on the land.
I mean, everything. It's so, I mean, yeah, it's like a dream. It's a dream that I didn't even realize that I had until recently. Um, but so really it's connecting deeply with the land. So just really being
Yeah,
able to deepen that connection with the land. I've come to realize, I mean, I've always loved humanity. I've always loved the earth. But that love of humanity in the earth is just growing and growing as I'm remembering who I am and why
yeah,
I'm here as well. So that
yeah.
opportunity to be in the Cherokee Mountains, where we're surrounded by the mountains, the jungle, that pristine water, just
Mhm.
being there,
Oh, I can't wait to taste the water.
taste the
Yeah,
water, just being there without anything else is life changing and healing. But then when we
yeah.
couple in with it, the fact that obviously Valentina, I'm going to meet you and we're going to continue the level 2 training, which just
Yeah, and we'll be doing land Akash. Like it's incredible doing grid work with the Akash. Like it's no one else is, well, I don't know what everyone else is doing, but yeah, there's nothing like the way we work.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so sacred, and it's and like I say, like with the bodies, the earth is like a body, and our bodies then connect to the earth, and we can really, it's like a symbiotic relationship in it where we
It
help.
is. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll be bringing that energy back with you.
yes,
So your first clients when you get back are pretty lucky. Like it's a big thing to bring energy from places that are really pure like that and have to open the Akash and to have worked with the land there, and then come back with that. It's like that coding is in you
yeah,
then to be able to assist people, you know, in very um, pure and clear ways because the land there is still so pure and clear.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's akin to like, just meeting an incredible, amazing angelic being, except that it's an area of earth. It's that powerful because the people that have lived on that mountain are different from the rest of the people in the rest of Costa Rica, and they've really looked after the both the galactic and the earth energies that are there. So it really, with them being like that, it really aligns with the fact that we open galactic earth and solar cache, because the people there that have been the guardians of that area, that particular tribal group, have kept that connection there too and kept it sacred and strong. And you know, I just can't believe we're going to be there too.
I
So blessed. Yeah.
such an honor and a blessing. And I think when I first started training with you, Valentina, I heard about the Akash probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Perhaps it came into my consciousness and I did a few meditations and I thought to myself, wow, what a dream to be able to go into the Akash and receive information. Um,
Yeah.
and then obviously, that dream started to come true. So,
Yes. Yeah, we are.
when,
Yeah.
when
I
you
never wanted to be out of it when I was younger, and I had to, I was a single mum, and
yeah,
I had another part-time job as well. Well, it's not all immediate successful business.
yeah.
And I'd just be in the Akash in the morning before the day started, and I'd just be like, oh, I don't want to come out. I just want to stay here.
when when
Yeah.
you're when you first did that reading and you're experiencing all, I mean, it's just such an honor and it's so beautiful. And I just thought, what a dream job, what a dream. And
Yeah.
I feel like, it's really opening up that dream. I feel like I'm going to be very activated to a new level as I go to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need a lot of guidance that, I know this is a destined step that I'm taking. And even though, and I've
Yeah.
recognized some of the limiting beliefs and the thoughts that come up that we're programmed to say, no, you can't do this, no, you shouldn't go here. And
Yeah.
that's been part of the healing as well. As soon as I said yes, I've started to heal on a much deeper. I'm just excited about all the healing, all the
Mhm.
activation, all the expansion, all
Yeah.
the action. I just think it's
Yeah.
going to be just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It is going to be amazing. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And combined with you know, the space being held by myself and Katie Tiana, my teaching graduate person that's coming with me from Wellspring Meditations, and Judy holding the space and running, organizing all these incredible sacred journeys, beyond the Akash,
yeah,
that will be going on, and sacred connections with kind of secret, sacred connections with amazing contacts that she has that only come out for her.
yeah,
It's just like, oh my goodness, like for all of us, it'll be amazing. Sometimes I'll be being the space holder,
yeah,
sometimes I'll be receiving. So, like to have something just coordinated and created that is
yeah.
where everyone is so well looked after too. Um, I know that's not really talking about the Akash, but
Oh, no,
I'm
no.
just really looking forward to it so much. It's, yeah, I like things to be done really well. I don't do average well. We all have, this is something else I've never told you.
Right. Ooh.
I don't, maybe you'll go, that came up in session number one.
Damn.
But is that we all, in my Celtic lineage, there's a concept called your gaish. So your gaish is something that is both a curse and a blessing. In my Celtic history, and yours too, for all of us in the world, but it's where I've learned of it is in my Celtic history in Ireland. We have a gaish, and a gaish is your blessing and your curse. And we all have that. And it's really important you know your Akash, and that's one of the questions you can ask in the Akash at some time for yourself, Corinne, because when you know your Akash, you know what to avoid in life because you know what your blessing and what your curse is. So my Akash, when I asked, my Akash is that I don't do average well. This just leads on from how much I love how professional the retreat is, with the professionals running it. And if I try to do average, my life just becomes miserable. If I try to have a normal relationship or, just live in the suburbs or which is absolutely fine, makes people very happy. Like I desperately wanted to be vaguely normal, please, when I
Yeah.
was younger.
Yeah.
But it just was just like, oh, I'd get sick, I'd hurt myself, I'd be unhappy and dissatisfied.
Yeah.
There'd be arguments. And then finally, the Akash told me that my gayish is that I don't do average. So as long as I strive to stay in the lane of being exceptional,
Yeah.
I'm happy and I can provide great experiences for people.
Yeah.
But if I try to do average things, doesn't work. And I've learned to just delegate as well because I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I've got my lane. And it's not being snobby. I just know what my gayish is now. Yeah.
Oh,
It makes a big difference when you know your gayish.
that is amazing, and that's a great question for me to ask and for my clients to ask now. I love,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
absolutely do not do anything average. I can definitely
No,
attest to that. I know that
I
I'm
can't.
a royal Akashic member of the family when we do your work. It is beyond. It's amazing. So I'm
Thank
so
you. It was so
I,
lovely to be here with you today, too. You're just
oh,
so
thank you,
divine and gorgeous. Thank you, Corinne.
Valentina. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know that the audience will be blown away by this conversation.